Hey everyone, welcome to the GTraderPro Weekly Futures Forecast. I'm Gil here once again on Sunday to help you get a head start on the trading week. We're going to look at the key markets, what happened this past week compared to what we said. We'll take a look at the upcoming events and the setups we're watching for this week. Let's get right into it. Well, for starters, we've got the rollover later in the week in the indices. So we've got the rollover effect this week. We've also got a number of key economic reports this week that are going to help shape things. Again, tariff talk continues to dominate the more wide-ranging, a little bit more volatile type days. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq for starters. We're going to kick off this week with the Nasdaq. And before we get into this week's forecast and expectations, let's take a look at last week, what happened, what we said. As you may recall from last week, we mentioned everything above 20,950 in the Nasdaq continues to be bullish for further upside. This is an ideal level. In addition to that, we really wanted to continue to see 21,220, 21,230 area also be closed above on an ongoing basis. This is where the market closed above last Friday, as you may recall. So they tested that level on Monday. And as we said, it should be fairly contained. Nothing too explosive was what I expected this past week. And we got, reasonable upside movement, nothing crazy. So it was fairly contained as we expected. We did, however, close above the very important, on Friday, close above the very important 21,650 level. So this was a very bullish close. And as long as we're maintaining this price level, it's the most bullish position we could be in coming into this coming week. Now, once again, we should see, based on this close on Friday to close out the week, we should continue to see more upside. As you may know, the overall picture and forecast for me is much higher prices coming into June, July, and August with new all-time highs being expected. And so this week, I am expecting, based on Friday's close, the next upside target, 22,220. And then potentially here, if we can push through this level, it would require certainly a push through this level, and we'd get to 22,400, basically 22,410, 407. This would be a good upside target coming into the week. So again, nothing exceptional, potentially 400 to 600 points. That's not a bad range for the Nasdaq. We could potentially have to retest the 400 level, 21,400. I'm not too sure about that. Normally with that type of a close on Friday, the market would not feel the need to have to do that. But again, we're looking for more upside this week in the Nasdaq with 22,200, 22,400, my upside targets for this week. Predicated upon, those targets would be predicated upon closing above 21,400. Let's shift over to the ES. And again, let's take a quick look at what happened last week compared to what we said, and then we'll take a look at the upcoming week. Last week, a week ago, we said it was very important to hold 58.70, and we can see here on Friday, as I said in last weekend's video, they did close above 58.70. Monday's low, dead low, you can see it was right on it. They tested that important number, so there's a lot going on there. This was a very bullish activity. To be able to do this is very bullish. Very minor spike of it on Friday, virtually to the tick on it on Monday. And then we proceeded to close very nicely. And then again on Friday, we finally reached very near my upside target, 6,029, 6,030. The true number is 6,029.50. Been talking a lot about that price with the expectation that the S&P, as long as they were doing well with 58.70, would indeed make this attempt. And again, the expectation was they will not close out the week above this price, and they did not. But they also didn't back down a whole heck of a lot. We provided our subscribers here and our Discord members daily updates with regards to this, and we were looking to short the market just intraday on Friday up near that price, and they did settle back a bit, but again, a very good, strong, bullish close did ensue on Friday, so we closed in really good position. Coming into this week, again, I would like to see us hold certainly this 59.57 level, if they were to pull back, becomes important. 59.72 was a number we used on Friday, 59.72, which is sitting right about here on your chart. It was very important to hold that level. We did hold it. Of course, Friday was payrolls, non-farm payroll report, and was very well received by the market. Now, my next two upside targets are going to be 6,080. We may reach that this week. We certainly have to get above and get a daily close, at the very least a daily close above 6,030. And not by just a point or two. I'd certainly like to see an obvious good close above this price to signal this week 6,080. Now, the further upside target you see here illustrated on the chart, 6130, I'm not necessarily expecting that this week. It could be done, but there's two very important levels that this market's going to have to push through in order to do that, and that's not normally easy. That being said, all the indices have proven themselves to be able to push through levels that are difficult to push through. And so the characteristics, the behavior of the market right now is still extremely bullish, despite the fairly contained small range week, which we expected, which we talked about in last weekend's video, did come to pass. It was a fairly small range from basically 58.70 up to that 6,030 level. So it wasn't a huge range, about 160 points. It's not big. But it was correct. Upside direction was correct. We continue to look for upside deeper into June, July, and with the expectation of new all-time highs coming. Our members know where that projection is, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit at the end of the video. But for now, we have to move through 6,029 to get to 6,080. I do believe that can happen this week. And if we can get through 6,080, you might want to mark 6130 on your chart. We'll see what happens. It's going to be very important for me to see the market hold on any pullback. Love to see it hold. The weekly close was very good above 59.57. That now becomes a very important level for the market to hold. All right. Let's shift over to the Russell. Russell had a nice week. And again, we talked about the very important 2,054 level last weekend, and we can see here on Monday virtually the dead low, and again the dead low on Tuesday. So they held this very important level, which we said for all upside, it's now important to hold 2,054. I could have lived with 2,036, as you know from last week's video, but ideal was 2,054. That was the bullish position to hold and maintain. We talked about a fairly contained Russell heading back up to 2112, which is exactly what they did. Note that Friday was the first daily close. We've attempted it a number of times, and Friday's close above 2112 was a very bullish close. That opens the door for a very nearby 2145 and a more likely 2164. 2164. And ultimately, as we move again, like the others, deeper into June and July, 2205 is a major target for me on the upside. But the first real major test is going to be 2163. I think that comes this week. With that very strong bullish close on Friday, we should continue to see further advance. It's very important to not lose that and close back below 2112. Closing below 2112 would indeed be short-term bearish and would likely pull us all the way back to 2053, 2054 once again. So the fact that they firmed up there and closed above 2112 should lead to more upside. They must maintain that daily close above 2112, which I expect to happen under normal conditions. Lastly, for the indices, we'll take a look at the YM. Now the YM, again, stayed contained. I forecasted a fairly contained week with it staying bullish above 42,000 and the upside being 42,900, potentially 42,700. We finally did get a slight close above 42,700. Note that they did not close above 42,900. That would have been the most bullish close on Friday. They stopped right at it after a slight spike of it. So we knew that that was a critical level. YM, not a bad close, not as strong as the other three that we just reviewed. So again, the Dow continues to be a little bit of the laggard. if and when they push through 42.9, and perhaps this week early we can look for that close, it would open up the door to 43.3 and 43.5. I think these are reachable this week with the longer term target, which we'll talk more about over the course of the remaining June-July period. But 43,800, a bigger upside target that I do think this market is headed for. In the meantime, this week, 43.3 to 43.5, I think would be important and nice levels to complete. We are going to have to see a daily close above 42.9 to trade effectively for what isn't a huge move. But again, the YM has been very contained. It's crawling its way up. It is maintaining bullish positions, but it's moving a little bit slower than the others. So again, looking forward to another up week this week in these markets. Let's take a look at. Let's turn this off. We don't need to be looking at our indicator ultra. We'll do a separate video on that. Here's the hourly chart of crude. A couple of things we talked about with oil. I'm sorry, that's gold. We'll come back to gold in just a minute. Now, while we're on gold, let's stay with gold. So we had a very bullish close on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It wasn't until Friday that the market broke hard below 33.70. We said very bullish with continued closes above 33.70 in gold, but it was very important that they maintain that level. They lost that territory on Friday, and they closed very poorly on Friday. That could, I say could, bring us all the way down to 32.45 once again. But prior to that, we're going to look for 33 even, 3300, 3302, 3305. We're going to look right here for where this market is likely to pull back to, 3305. 3305 is where this market should be heading. It closed very poorly on Friday. It's not that far away, obviously, given the moves in gold. It's not that big of a deal. But keep in mind that we could end once again back down at 32.45 if they really want to have a good range for the coming week, which gold has been doing quite a bit of. Again, this was a very important level. The market was in a very bullish position on Monday, and we were thinking originally that the market was going to make new highs, but it was predicated upon maintaining this level. These were very important tests that occurred during the week. The market did close above 33.70, but again, lost that territory on Friday, and that was very, very impactful. So we're going to look this week for an easy 33.05, followed up by 32.40 if they can daily close below 33.05. If they cannot, if we firm up on 33.05, we're going to go long in gold. Don't mind letting you know that we will alert our subscribers as long as they're closing, say, 33.05 to 3300. I am going to make a call that we're going to head back up to 33.70 this week. This is once again the critical line in the sand for a fairly good move, 70 points or another continuation down for another 50 points to the downside. So stay tuned and we'll see what gold does for us. Let's go over to the oil complex. Now we've rolled in crude into the new July contract. We had a very strong close occur during the course of the week. I had made mention previously in the outgoing contract above 62.85 was going to be bullish, which is exactly what they began to do and firm up. As you can see, they closed very neutrally. You can see how the market was using 62.85 last week. I talked about this price quite a bit over the last several weeks in crude oil. And we can see that finally on Friday they made a definitive move to the upside to close strongly above it. This actually opens up the door to 68.50. As I mentioned, if this level were closed below, we'd be bearish down to the 57s. If we closed above it, we had to be bullish and accept the reality of $68 and change. Once again, very important for oil to maintain 62.85. Any close back below it will be immediately bearish. Maintaining 62.85, and we've got a $68.50 price tag expected in crude. Now, can they get there this week? They certainly can have a good week. It's been fairly contained over the last several days, several weeks, but that would be the forecasted price. Whether we reach that this week or not, that could take a little bit beyond this week to reach, but that is my target for crude for anybody who's willing to be long, especially with retests of 62.80. We would use that opportunity to go long the market with daily closes above that, and we'd be targeting a hold, perhaps for beyond the week, up to $68. All right, and I think that really wraps up the preview for our markets this week. So again, thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and please subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. And I really invite you to join our free Discord community. There's no charge to be a member in our Discord community. There you will get daily updates, daily insights, and be able to participate in Trader Chat. Link is in the description. And so invite you to do that. And please visit GTraderPro.com for information about one-to-one training, tools, and resources. If you find the forecasting here interesting and insightful, again, I invite you to join us, and please follow us on social media to stay connected with the GTraderPro ecosystem, and I look forward to seeing you next week once again. Thank you for watching.